Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to start up a new lesson of Unit 11, Chapter 2, Forces and Motion. It's an easy lesson, and part 1 today we'll complete the lesson in this week. So, forces. Most of you have been in a tug of war, right? You push with your feet against the ground, you pull as hard as you can. So pushes and pulls and lifts all are known as forces. They are known as forces. Force. A force is any push or pull from one object to another object. So what is it again? It is a push or pull from one object to another object. This is force. What are units of force? Forces are measured in newtons. Remember the SI units for forces, they were newtons and pounds. We can write down in short form as Newton as N, and there is pounds written for you. So for example, force can be of different kind. We have different kind of forces. For example, the many forces occur as one object touches another object, such as this tow truck is taking that car. You see that they are touching. But on the other hand, there are some forces that act without objects touching. For example, a compass. The needle of the compass, if you see, it's always pointing north. Can you say why? Yes, because of the magnetic field or magnetic force of the earth. It always points towards the north. There's nothing actually touching the needle, but it still feels a force. Now, from our past lessons, remember buoyancy? Can anybody tell what is buoyancy? Yes, buoyancy is also a force that is caused by a difference in densities. So buoyancy will lift lighter substances or lighter objects out of denser substances. So buoyancy is also a kind of force. Now, airplanes have a special name for its force. When an airplane is flying or it's taking off, they have special names for the forces. When the engine push or pull the plane forward, this force is known as thrust force. When the engine is pushing or pulling the plane forward, this force is known as the thrust force. So as the plane moves forward, air moves around the wings and creates a force that raises the plane into the air. Again, as the plane moves forward, air moves around the wings and it creates a force that actually raises the plane into the air. Now this is called lift. So there was thrust, which was pushing the engines were pushing the plane forward and backward. That's a thrust force. And then you have the lift force, which moves when there is air that moves around the wings and creates a force that raises the plane into the air when it goes into high altitude. That's called lift force. there's another kind of force that actually works on the plane, drag force. We talked about the thrust force and lift force. Now lift must be stronger actually than the weight to pull down on the plane in order to for it to fly, because if the weight is greater, the plane will not be able to fly. So the lift at the time of taking off, the lift must be greater than the weight. On the other hand, for the flat surface of the plane, now plane is made in such a way that it hits the air and pulls back on the rest of the plane. Now this is called drag. This is known as drag, when there's air striking with the flat surfaces of the air, with the flat surfaces of the plane. Okay, this is what pulls back or slows down the plane. This is known as the drag force. And thrust force, as we said, when it is moving backward, forward, this is the thrust force when the engines do this work. Lift again, when air passes through and it enables the plane to fly or to take off. So these are different kind of forces that act on a plane. Now we use forces in different ways, right? Instead, many ways are there. For example, forces can crush, right? You can crush up things, or you could, what are you doing here? Yes, we are stretching. You're stretching this arrow in order to just leave it and boom, it will just fly. So this is stretching, or different kind of forces that you do, different things you do with the force apart from moving object. So force can cause an object to do what? To start moving. Force can create it to start move. It can cause objects to speed up. You start moving them from their places. You can speed up them. You can change the direction, right? Forces can do that. You can slow down or stop. Now can you guess, you move up a thing, or you speed up, or you change direction, and you slow down, or you stop it. This is related to something which we already took in the last lesson. What is that? Yes, acceleration. Remember acceleration that we took in the last lesson? That it causes object, either you start moving, either you speed up, either you change, right? Either you slow down, or you do different, or you stop it. Okay, now here, for example, some forces such as this bat hitting a ball, this acts for a very short time. You see that the ball still accelerates, but because it flies away quickly. Okay, so other kind of forces, for example, you see here this riding, or you could say riding a bicycle, all right, a cyclist pedaling steadily and a balloon rising slowly. They are example of continuous force because you continuously you're working on it. But here this is not a continuous force, because as the batter hits the ball, it just flies away, right? There's not continuous force he's applying. He just applies it once and the ball flies away. But if you are cycling, for example, that's an example of continuous force, because continuously you are pedaling, you're applying a force. So that is an example of continuous force. But this batter here, he's not applying continuous force because he applies the force only for once and the ball flies away, it accelerates. Let's see a video about the forces that act on the plane. Remember, what are they? Okay, so let us see this video. Well, that's all. Hopefully you understood the lesson today, and I'll be waiting for any questions that you have, and plus I will upload the homework, which already you did. I'll upload the answers for that so you can check in your workbook. Enjoy your day, boys. Thank you very much for seeing up.